Here we are now, content creators. Now, today we're going to talk about a channel that I've watched for a decent amount of time, at least a good handful of years, and that would be Scruffy Crow. Now, I originally encountered his channel about 5 years ago, and I can't remember the exact first video I watched, but it was either the scratch building a medieval catapult for Oathmark or a Reaper Bones Giant for Oathmark. And reason I had encountered him is I had been watching a channel called the Habsburg Donkey, fellow German, and the interesting part in that regard is that it led me to finding out about Oathmark, which was a kind of an interesting little fantasy game we might talk about in the future. And Scruffy Crow had been doing a number of Old Hammer restorations and, of course, Oathmark videos. Now, what is the selling part, in my opinion, for Scruffy Crow? Scruffy Crow has covered a bunch of different games, from Rangers of Shadowdark, I believe, Oathmark, of course, Old Warhammer Fantasy, and more beyond that. But I think it's interesting because he shows a way of dealing with miniatures and getting them painted, getting projects done, but also, when the need arises, trying to modify things to fit your need with what you have. And you can find it from converting the catapult crew with EM4 dwarves, and quite the feat in that regard, to, well, of course, making scratchable catapults or using a Reaper Bones Giant for a game. He also covered Epic, which Epic was never my game or something I was super interested in, but it was kind of cool to see someone doing projects, and he has a whole playlist for it. Overall, I think Scruffy Crow has a pretty good manner. He's got an interesting way of handling things, and he's a lot more on the project side of things. So if you want an idea of the kind of tribulations and thoughts people have when they're getting to grips with a project, so they want to get a war band, or they want to get an army, or they have just a hobby project in mind, he does do that and shows ways of learning new skills, introducing new elements, be it sculpting to 3D sculpting, or resculpting if you prefer, to converting, to finding and outsourcing things for a project that you might not be able to easily find, including just some of the basic elements one would see that, well, most hobby channels would do. Plus, he's got Nerdrotic in the intro, so if you like Nerdrotic, Shazam. He owned a comic book store, don't you know? But overall, I think one of the best parts about his channel is that there's a bit of experimentation, like a miniscape, or minisodes even, but it's oftentimes done under the guise of, here's a project that I want to get done, and this is me getting it done for this thing I want to do, which I think was good for people who are new and gives them an idea of the amount of work and time that goes into a project so that you are better prepared. And I think he does it in an entertaining way with, well, a good concept of how one executes a plan to achieve what they're going for. So I think his channel's fantastic. It's got a lot of Old Hammer, has a lot of other types of games in there, be it Burrows and Badgers, or Badgers and Burrows, I don't remember, Oathmark, Rangers of Shadow Deep, Mordheim, and more and more and more. There's a whole bunch in a very good variety, while keeping the channel, for the most part, focused on getting projects done to get something on the table, along with a number of other side things that we will see and often people indulge in when they're involved in the hobby, be it terrain, be it boards for games, be it just scenery, for example. It looks offshoot for buildings if you prefer. Overall, I think his channel offers a good value for people who need to or wish to understand the full scale of coming to grips with a lot of projects. And often this is one of the bigger things, is that I would often advise people to start small and to pace themselves and do a little bit at a time so they didn't burn themselves out. So I think this channel offers a really good value in showing people you can get those projects done, you can meet your goals, but oftentimes, because of life, because of, juggling clowns or random rogue mimes, you don't always get it done when you want. But the main point is to get it done when it is going to actually provide you some degree of value. And hey, and not to give up on things. Plus, learning new skills. That's part of what a hobby is, learning new skills. So, check his channel out, and if you do like his channel and you give him a sub, just let him know to keep on keeping on. Till then, bye-bye.